like technically nothing in this one.
That's what, first week of June?
Yeah. We'll see.
And we can do one.
Yeah. Not the mayor's.
It's slow and weird.
Yeah.
Could be a great return.
Slow and weird. It's very weird.
Wait, you're listening in? The weird. Odd. Police motorcycles. Hardly the. Which I also don't know if that's not weird.
The Harley thing is funny because you're like biking around and you see signs everywhere that's like welcome bikers, and for half a second you're like, is that me? Are they excited to see me roll?
It's not weird in a bad way.
All right, so I think we have a quorum here.
Yes.
It's 8:31. Closed captioning is available on the desktop version of Microsoft Teams. To enable closed captioning, click the three dots at the top window and click turn on live captions. Unfortunately, captioning is not available for the web browser version of Teams. I will be monitoring the chat, and I just ask that people remain muted and use the raise hand function, and I can call. Let's see, just gonna admit this person here, and then we can do roll call. All right, so it's 8:31. For roll call, Aaron. Yeah, we're starting. Aaron Artiega.
Present.
Anna Balyakova.
Present.
Emily Cadman.
Present.
Mitchell Henke.
Present.
Montavious Jones. I don't think I see him in there yet. Kathleen Minnick.
Present.
Ben Teal.
Present.
Barry Weber.
Present.
Stephen Owen. Here. And Monica Walksmith.
Present.
Right. We have a quorum. And I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So we've got a pretty packed agenda today, so I'm going to try to keep it moving to the best of my ability. The first item is approval of last month's minutes. If anybody was able to take a look, see if there are any corrections or errors to correct. And if not, I hear a motion to approve them.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. I think that was Anna and Kathleen. So the next item is a discussion on street sweeping policy and street sweeping requests. We're supposed to have somebody from DPW to talk about those. Oh, I should have virtual. No.
Let's see right now.
We can hold that one, and we can move on to agenda item number 5, a discussion on Summerfest bike parking, bike rack requests, and locator tools. I think that is you. Are you the?
Yeah, so for like our request and locator stuff, do you want to share your screen on there?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
Doing double duty, but I can, so at least at a high level, the city accepts bike rack requests in places where they can place them in the public right of way. Is that right?
Yes, correct. And there's a bike rack request tool that Kyle is going to share that has it's online on our website, and that's where members of the public can actually go in there and make requests directly to our team.
And it's kind of the standard U-shaped rack.
Yeah, correct. There's also hitch racks, which are those circular racks attached to signs and other posts around the city too. So sometimes when there's like space limitations, that can be another option as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, hopefully you can all see my screen. This is the bike rack request form. So if you guys ever feel there's an area of Milwaukee that you commonly bike to, or a business owner or something like that, that doesn't have bike rack and you feel like there is one, you can go to this webpage. This is on the Department of Public Works site under the multimodal team, bike parking. There are a few small requirements, so there's no guarantee that the bike racks can be installed. Simple stuff like we can't install on grass and we have to keep space for all users on the sidewalk. But you can put it in here. Hopefully we get to it pretty quick and installed fairly quick as well. So this is a great option if there's areas around the city that you don't see bike racks and would like there to be one. In addition to that, I've been working on, if I can get to it. So at least to the best of our knowledge, our inventory of bike racks is all uploaded online now. Under the same web page as you can find the bike rack request form, there's now this tab for a bike rack locator tool. Should pull up.
For the bike racks that the city sells, they usually have to be installed like between the sidewalk and the street usually, or between the sidewalk and I guess if there's public right of way between the sidewalk and private property on the other side. Is that
like generally it should be closer to the street side of the sidewalk. Yep. We try to avoid installing up next to buildings. So here's the map. As I said, to the best of our knowledge, where all the bike racks are in Milwaukee. So now with this tool, you can actually go and search an address. So if you're ever in a spot and you don't see a bike rack, for example, if you came to this building, it'll actually zoom in on the specific area, drop the pin where you are, and it'll show you all of the bike racks within a certain distance of that spot. So it's automatically set at 1/4 mile. So not too far away, but this slider can be adjusted as well. If you're willing to walk further or less from your destination to the bike rack. On the left side, it'll actually list all of the racks that are available and all the information that we have for it. And then the one last thing as well, if you were to go to a spot where you don't see any racks, hopefully. Running Teams and this map is probably a lot of internet. So if you go to a spot where there's no racks available, there will be a little error message that pops up that there aren't any. And this does then give the link to our email address. So hopefully if you're in a spot and you don't notice one, people can reach out and say that it's not there or go right into the bike rack request form, just so we can start to get an idea of places that people are biking to that might need bike racks. The other thing is every single rack has a unique ID number. So if you were to notice that a rack is maybe in really bad shape, or for some reason we think it's there, but it's not there, you can also email the team with the ID number. We do ask that you include a picture just to make it a little easier on us. But hopefully this way we can really start to get a better understanding of all the bike parking that's around the city. The only final thought is, unfortunately, we can't 100% guarantee that every single rack that we think is there. Businesses can install them, move them. They can be, changed for whatever reason. So that's just a big thing when using this. Hopefully it's going to be correct in the few places I've tried it. It has been so far, but it's hard to know exactly all around the city every single rack. But hopefully this could be a useful tool for people biking around the city and finding good parking, especially in places maybe not downtown where there's something not readily available. So
cool. Thank you.
Where do we see the ID numbers on the racks?
yeah, it's on the left side here. Each rack has a little kind of pocket of information, just some general stuff, and the ID numbers right there.
Oh, but that's not ever listed on the actual U rack somewhere, right? It's
Oh,
just
no,
like
no,
on the
no, it's just
website.
on the website,
gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, if you go up to a rack and you see it, it won't say it on there.
Right, right.
It's just on the site itself, but so yeah, this tool would have to be integrated into all that if
Okay.
you wanted to make a comment.
This is really cool. Is this just racks that have been installed by the city, or would this include like public racks?
Yep, it should include public racks, just anything that we've seen around. And even some of the racks will mark themselves as private. I think that's indicating that they're on private property. So you'll be able to see them. But also if you open the legend on the side, the different colors will represent the different kinds of racks. So you know, we don't install grid racks, for example, but you'll see them around. So yeah, this map should have
The schoolyard style, like
yeah,
column.
yeah, exactly.
That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Of course.
If I may ask, does this webpage adjust to mobile phones?
It does, yeah. Yeah, I tried it. So that's my assumption. Most people will use it there. You do need to, the screen that you see kind of on the left side, that will take over the whole screen. That would be the first thing you see. So you do need to exit out of that, and then you'll see the map.
Did any members of the committee have any questions or comments? From members of the public? Cool. I think this is really awesome. I really appreciate the small detail of including the link to request a rack when there aren't any found. I think that'll hopefully help fill in gaps where there are some. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Was there the other part of this item was Summerfest bike parking? Is there anything specific there? I know that this was just maybe prompted by somebody asking about where bike parking is near Summerfest.
Before, one question just came up to me with this. What's the best way to find it on the city website?
Yeah, so if you just Google Milwaukee bike parking, it will pull up to the main
Okay.
screen. If you just start at city.milwaukee.gov, it'll take you a few clicks to get there. But
Okay.
under the multimodal site, if you find bike resources and then go to bike parking from there. But again, I think it's easier to just Google Milwaukee bike parking and you'll come up to this main page that'll have sort of our main resources for that.
And for those in the chat, I also included links directly to the request form and the locator tool. And to answer your question, Mitch, so we did receive a kind of a request from an email from a member of the public about bike parking at Summerfest. And so you may know there's by the north entrance, I guess, there's like, you know, those kind of bike racks that are around there. And the more central one that you kind of access through, forgetting what street that is, Lincoln Memorial, I guess. That one does not have the same type of bike racks out there. The request was prompted, and we actually went out to saw the site, and they looks like they recently installed some grid racks there
On the inside.
yeah, it's the kind of request was about there's the park that's open to the public in the Summerfest grounds there, and so there's obviously people biking to there, and that's the entrance they can use. The north entrance isn't, you're not able to use that to get into the park, and so the need for bike racks around there. So they did install some grid ones, but
What do you mean?
obviously
We'll stay here. Stay here.
I think, can you mute yourself,
it looks like we have
whoever that is?
they might have muted themselves. It looks like.
Oh, it's my dude.
There we go. So yeah, they did install some grid racks there. Obviously, that's not maybe the standard type that we would look to install, but it's something we can look into there as well as to do install some other types of racks or work with Summerfest to do
There's
that.
there's the path there that I assume has some public space potentially for racks.
Yeah, and there's during Summerfest they have there's kind of that gated area where they have more grid racks, but they don't have those out there during just. I don't think they have those during non-Summerfest or festivals either. So.
Got it. Appreciate it. Well, thank you both. It's really neat to see that tool. And I think we can move on to the street sweeping policy. I assume that's
Yep.
your area.
Right. I'm Kaylin Jenick, Operations Services Manager. So I work with our fleet, forestry, parking, and sanitation staff. Sanitation is mostly doing the street sweeping, but I also do a lot of our snow and ice control operations.
Yeah, if you could like kind of give us an overview of like, because there are schedules and things, there's frequencies at which certain areas are streets swept. Is that
Right. Yeah. So there's frequency of street sweeping in the city. Most of it depends on the combined sewer area. So the downtown area is swept once a week. The outer ring is twice a month, and then the outskirts of the city are once a month, and that's available. The map of those areas are available online at milwaukee.gov/street sweeping. Street sweepers do require water, so we are not able to street sweep in the winter. And it's not just the snow and ice, it's really the cold temperatures because we can't put any water on the streets. We were able to do some street sweeping with this mild winter during the day as our staffing allowed. In early March, our full street sweeping operation started March 17th, which we call our heavy sweep. So we go through every single street, alley. It takes us a little bit longer than it does because there's more debris left over from the winter. And that's when we start working nights. Unfortunately, we were delayed in starting night operations until March 31st because of cold night temperatures, but we did start day sweeping. So we are approaching the end of our heavy sweep. We have been through all of the main streets. And so I think we have our street sweeper operators that are on streets with protected bike lanes. Their maps do include that they do the street, and then the protected bike lanes were built in such a way that our street sweepers fit in and they get to the curb. So at this point, all of our staff have swept those bike lanes once. We're currently working more on the residential streets and the alleys, and then we'll get back on that regular schedule of doing once a week for downtown. And I think the south side ones are in the every other week area of street sweeping.
excellent? I have a note that it's possible to request. I assume that is might be difficult to fit into the schedule, or?
Yeah, so it really is a systemic process for us to continue to run through areas. And so that creates some problems. If somebody parks in a bike lane when we come through, we're not going to get to that curb because it's not efficient for us to continue to return to a location to see if a car has moved. So it's really just based on our frequency that we get through. At the same time, if there is something unique in a bike lane, as well as with any area of the city, so if there's like an accident that left glass or debris there, that wouldn't necessarily be a street sweeping request, it'd be more of a cleanup request, and whether we send someone out to clean it or if a street sweeper is most appropriate, we would address the request that way. But the city as a whole, we don't do street sweeping requests because we just gotta work methodically through the city to provide fair service.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate that. Did any members of the committee have questions on street sweeping?
So on that, like, let's say I'll use like a protected bike lane, like the one I've been using a lot has been on Highland. So there's been a lot of debris with some of the nearby Harley Park construction. But like, let's just say that, like, you know, sometimes we can see as cyclists, there's a whole block where it feels like scattered broken glass, you know? Any general recommendation? Like, I mean, for me, sometimes I'm just accustomed to bringing a dustpan and a brush with me if I see stuff, but
Yeah, and I love it because as a resident of the city, I think we all take care of the city.
yeah.
But for those larger requests, I think sometimes the challenge of working with the city is just the language you use. And so instead of saying, hey, I need a street sweeping request, of saying there's accident debris. Because accident debris is something we're going to clean up. But if you're just like, when you say street sweeping or call center, just sort of here's, I want like extra service. But accident debris is really addressing a problem that's unique, that would be addressed when we work through methodically. But if you use that word of accident debris and put in that request, then that will get rounded to us still. Whereas the street sweeping request isn't open.
You would suggest describing more the problem that you're having, not the solution you want to see.
Exactly.
The city will know what.
Yes,
Right.
we'll define the solution based on the problem that you let us know about.
Of course. Makes sense.
Cool.
Looks like Ben has his hand up. Ben?
Hi, yeah, thanks. I'm just wondering, does all of this also apply to city-owned paths and trails?
No, sanitation really just does street sweeping on the public right of way of the streets. That there isn't equipment that goes on those trails or that we maintain. At the same time, if there is an accident issue, we do try to address that either through sanitation. Sometimes they go through forestry because they're also helping mow that. or sometimes it'll go through infrastructure or bike path. So if there is a significant problem, let us know, but sometimes if it's just, hey, we want this service, that's kind of a different request as opposed to there's a unique problem that needs to be addressed.
So what would be the best way of reporting glass and debris on bike trails?
Still, if you're reporting that accident debris to a specific location, it might take a little longer because it gets rerouted along, but I don't think there's a specific definition of those bike trails. And that's one of our challenges that we have in the city is because some are maintained by the state, some we assist with, some might be private but are used as bike trails. But if you put it in as accident debris, we can at least investigate that location, get it to the right person, or add in comments of why the city would not be the appropriate party to report that to.
Thank you, will do.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee before we move on to?
I had one, because this always seems to be a problem because I come up Second Street to get to work and that's an on-street bike lane. You guys go up to the curb when you're doing that and that's about it. But that on-street bike lane is always full of glass. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. Somebody from a bar is going to go smash something out there. And so how do we get you guys to also do the bike lanes? Sweep the bike lanes.
And our sweepers, as they do the street, are doing those areas as well.
They're not getting the bike lane. They get up to the curb, right? But then there's curb parking, then a bike lane. That bike lane does not get done.
Okay.
And I just want to know how we can get that done.
I mean, our street sweepers do the street and then they also do the curb. That they're not just doing the curb. And so sometimes the timing of it can also be difficult. If you're saying for weeks, I'm happy to request specific locations. But that can be some of our challenges. Like, and some of it is the timing of it. If the street sweeper came through and then there's glass there, you're going to see that glass for the next week or two without it being reported because there isn't a street sweeper. And that does feel like a really long time. So sometimes it's the timing of it. But reporting those specific issues are helpful. It's just, we don't allow street sweeping action because that's not the way we work. I'm happy to talk to South about, or Second Street, which area of Second Street?
South Second Street.
Okay, I'm happy to talk with the South area about that location.
Thank you. Any other committee members have questions? Otherwise, it looks like a member of the public has their hand raised. Dennis? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for bringing up this topic. I don't know if it was in response to the letter that I wrote to you guys, specifically about Wisconsin Avenue, the viaduct between 44th and 39th. There's a painted bike lane right through there, and there's no sidewalk or anything like that. So the snow gets pushed over to that, the snow melts, and there's a big pile of debris. And I guess with the schedule that was laid out before, I figured that would have been addressed, weeks ago when I got started. So I guess, so what your solution is, so I guess I'm kind of wondering, does it, do the street sweepers, they know to go through in these bike lanes? Because like I said, this one is still a mess. And I used to be able to, put in an online request, and it sounds like there's a different way to do it, not ask for a street sweep, but for debris. But I guess I'm kind of wondering why this wasn't addressed. Why isn't it cleaned up now?
Is that in the area?
The Wisconsin Avenue one, it should have been swept already. I'll verify with Central, and I live on that side of the town, so I'd actually like to drive there on my way. I'll drive down Wisconsin Avenue on my way home. I'd like to see it. So
Yeah,
I'll do that. And yeah, but I can verify when that route was done, and we do have GPS on our street sweepers as well. We can identify why that was a problem, but it should have been done at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. They may be doing the lane, they just have not gotten into the bike lane actually. So I appreciate I appreciate this and bringing it up at the committee here. Thanks.
Thank you.
A question on the, I'm just pulling up the Milwaukee app right now for requesting service. In terms of this accident debris, is there like an easy thing just to click? This is usually when I request things just citywide.
Yeah.
Is there like an easy one to click on, like, so I would know at least that, like, oh yeah, but I don't want to request full street sweeping, et cetera.
There's one called accident debris.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I know that we have created a specific request type for that because it is a higher priority for us to get glass or car parts that might be
Okay.
in the public right away.
Like Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Dennis's mention of the viaducts raised an important question. I'm thinking of the Menominee Valley viaducts, the 16th, 27th, and 35th streets. They have raised side paths that I guess they look like sidewalks, but they are designated for bike travel. They're basically all unusable all the time because of glass and other debris. How can we get these cleaned too?
Is it the same?
Yeah, so our street sweepers don't fit on those. We do have one trackless piece. I would have to, usually infrastructure is the division that's maintaining those. But I can see if we can get that trackless piece of equipment with the broom on it to get those clear. As well as see if there's a regular schedule that we should be having for clearing those.
That would be great because I think it would just be frustrating for everyone to have to report those areas as accident debris because of how many crashes and how much debris there is always there.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Monica, you did it? Or yeah, Monica, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to coordinate, at least in some of these areas with like the business owners, like for example, Second Street or the Menominee Valley. If their patrons are creating issues like continually, if there's an opportunity to coordinate, especially if there is like a bid or a business association, there's kind of one contact and that might be a solution. If there's chronic issues, they can either put that into their operating plan and try to budget for it, or they can simply, try to clean it up themselves and be a good neighbor.
Is that something that has happened in the past? Have you worked with?
I'm not sure with Walker's Point, if there's been conversations with those businesses in that area. For the Menominee Valley, it's probably a little bit separate because these are more the bridges that run over those businesses. But for Walker's Point, I can check with James Washington if that's a conversation that they've had with those things.
That would be Harbor District, I think.
The Harbor District or Walker's Point area. Yeah, I mean, Second Street runs through both of them.
Mhm. Thank you. Were there any?
Actually, I just had a comment on that in terms of like the business operating plans. Because the bid is one thing, but the bids aren't really involved with the business, with the operation plans of the individual businesses. That's something that would have to go to the licenses committee, like when their license renewal came up. And so in order to do that, there would have to be either a document or some record of them causing the problem and not, like proving that their patrons are the ones that were throwing the bottles out there and that the business is trying to hold businesses accountable for cleaning it up. But that's how that would have to work. To get the operating plan changed, it would have to go to the licenses committee.
So if there's an area or, that people suspect or see where there's issues with littering or glass in front of a business, there's I assume a formal process for like, this business is causing this problem for me in this way.
You can make complaints like to the alderwoman, to the local alderperson. And then those become part of the record. And then when their license renewal comes up, then those issues are raised during the hearings.
Okay, and then that's, and not in consideration in whether they need to
It's
change
tricky
the.
though to prove that this debris came from that business. You have to document very carefully.
But there is some
There is
opportunity to work with specific businesses, not maybe not work with, but associate, sure.
We don't have to say work with, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, yeah, but not me individually, I would be. Yeah.
Correct. It would be through the committee.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Looks like Laura had her hand up, then put it down. Laura, do you still have a question?
I was just thinking along the lines of engaging the alders, if that's helpful, and it was just mentioned. So I feel like sometimes that helps move things along quicker.
Yes, agreed. I don't see any other hands raised.
Over here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What's the official city stance on cleaning up actual accident debris? Because I see all the time, and it's just rampant these days. All the debris all over from actual car vehicle accidents. And, you know, tow truck comes, hauls things away, but they leave all the glass at the street, they leave bumpers and all sorts of things. And I would think there would be a requirement that gets removed by the people that are dealing with the removal of the vehicles in the first place.
So we don't have it on tow truck operators to do that. When MPD is involved with an accident, we do ask that they put in a request to remove that accident debris, but sometimes accidents happen that they aren't reported to anywhere with the city. So we do rely on residents to let us know when those things happen. And those are high priority requests that we try to address within one day from when we get them. But sometimes there isn't someone who reports it, and so then it sits. And so like other things, like if there's a pothole, our average is filling those in 3 days. Accident debris, we average clearing it within a day. But we need to be notified of it by someone.
Not all app is not reliable. It keeps freezing up when you try to actually report it.
I can't speak specifically to the app, just that service request system, which I know you can do online outside the app as
You
well.
can also call.
Yeah, as well as call.
And I can speak to the tow truck issue just a little bit. The city can't require tow truck operators to clean up the debris because it's the state statutes don't allow us to. That regulation comes from the state level. Some states do have that requirement that the tow truck operators are required to clean up all debris when they pick up, you know, when they lift a vehicle, but the state of Wisconsin doesn't require that. And so we can't add that as a requirement to tow truck operators within the city.
You're saying that the city cannot have their own municipal law for that?
That is my
Okay.
understanding. Right?
Okay.
Because that would,
Interesting.
when you look at the regulation of tow trucks, their general operation, that's primarily at the state level. And we're often limited in making ordinances that are more restrictive than the state level.
Thanks for that. I did not know that.
Some states do, they require it. It's part of the deal, but Wisconsin isn't one of those states.
Right. Interesting. All right. I appreciate you coming and sharing and answering all of the questions. I learned a lot and appreciate that. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we can move on to the next agenda item, which is a discussion from the Target Improvements Committee related to St. Paul. A letter was sent out to committee members to review and take a look at. The short version is this: there's no like planned project specifically for this, but it's just a specific recommendation that we'd like to get on the record near the intersection of St. Paul and Plankinton near the river, where the bike lane ends, and you don't have a lot of options. You go north through kind of the on-ramp or left onto streetcar tracks, or right down Water Street where the bike lane ends at Water Street. And it would be nice to be able to get at least to the Hop station or further east even to Jackson where there are future improvements. So this is a small recommendation from us to keep that in mind, or, you know, if the opportunity presents itself, there's a nearby project where we can kind of figure that out for the city to look into improving that connection. To have a discussion from committee members first to talk about it. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
I just quickly talk on behalf of DPW, thank you for sending the letter. It's definitely an area we thought about a lot over the years, especially the streetcar.
Yep.
That went in several years back now. We'll take a look and provide a response.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I witnessed somebody falling on their bike, going down St. Paul, right near the tracks, going west like that. So, yeah, not so safe.
Yeah, that one is especially difficult. Some streetcar track have a lane next to them that don't have tracks, but yeah, the westbound on St. Paul, south of Plankinton is one of those that's really, really difficult, especially there because the sidewalk is also not necessarily available because there's an integrated hop platform there too. So you couldn't get up on the sidewalk really easily if you wanted either. So yeah, I don't know what could be done for the westbound area, but I guess this is more for now focused on what happens if you go east.
Is that the same spot where, like, if you're coming eastbound on St. Paul, you are directed to take the sidewalk?
Yep, behind the
Yeah.
hop platform.
Right.
Yep.
It's a great letter. So was this sent already?
No,
Okay.
no, this is, I would like to see approval from the committee before sending it out to everybody. Everybody being DPW and elected officials.
If there's no further comments, I would move to approve, or is, oh, Montavious is raising his hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Montavious.
Hey, Mike, I couldn't hear what you said. Could you repeat your comments? Mike Hampton.
Yeah, just said, thank you for drafting the letter. It's an area we've had a lot of discussions about over the years, especially when the streetcar was going in. So we'll take a look and we'll provide a response.
Thank you.
Oh,
It's somebody had their hand up.
the only other comment, I think this list of committee members is incomplete.
Yeah, Montavious is missing. Is that
Okay.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I fixed that.
Is that one of the letters where my name's listed twice too?
It sure is.
Yeah, I'll fix that as well. So
Because of your impact.
Oh, that's
Double
great.
the impact.
Oh, yes.
with the shuffle on membership. I messed that up. Any further comments or discussion there?
With those edits, I'd move to approve. Unless
Got a motion to approve. In a second. Hearing no objections.
We have a comment from the public.
Ah,
Someone had their hand up.
oh, I see. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Hi, this is Brian. I just wanted to say I'm thrilled that this area is being discussed. It's always been, I've always found where the bike lane ends at Water Street to be particularly confusing. I did want to ask if it was possible to consider a two-way cycle track where those where that parking lane is. I know it's a little narrow, but otherwise it's very thrilled to see that this area is being discussed.
Yeah, I think I would leave that to DPW and kind of what the treatment is, because there's only that parking on the southern side, at least between Water and Broadway. I think there's parking on both sides north of Broadway, but I guess, yeah, that one block could kind of probably determine what's possible.
East of Broadway.
Yes.
We have the streetcar station. There's a couple spots in front of it.
But that would be, yeah,
The streetcar
There's some
station's a limiting factor there.
yeah, so there,
We'll take a look. We need to take a look and see what's possible.
cool. Yeah, so DPW will take a look. Appreciate the comment and suggestion. We had a motion and to approve in a second. Hearing heard no objections from committee members, so ordered. I will send this out to people listed in the letter, hopefully by next week, depending on whether my printer has ink. With that, we can move on to work groups. I know that we have an item from projects at least, and an item from policy let me see my list here. We'll start with projects. I guess this is, we have a letter that's mostly a follow-up from a letter we sent last year regarding the West Lisbon Avenue project, with the design being confirmed to have 2 roundabouts, which was our recommendation. And there was some, I guess, uncertainty at the time on the direction. So this is a letter confirming that we're glad to see that that was the direction that the project went. I don't know if Montavious or others on the project's working group had anything to add.
I'll just add that Mitch brought this idea, or maybe it was Barry, brought this idea up that we should send this follow-up letter. I believe last April, we sent a letter in support of the design that included 2 roundabouts at 92nd and 84th Street. And there was some hesitancy around that, I think, because it eliminated some parking spots on Lisbon. But we want to see this, we think it's a safer option. So we want to send this letter as a follow-up saying, thank you, we know this was a hard decision. I don't think we've sent a letter like this before. Maybe this become kind of standard practice. A lot of what we've heard over the years is people need cover, people need support when they're pushing progressive designs like this. So I think this is just one step in that direction, providing cover and support for the decision makers who ultimately decide, what's going to go into the final design. So yeah, we're seeking approval for this letter.
Yeah, excellent. I would hear a motion to approve if there's no further questions or comments here.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Hearing no objections, I will also send this letter out to DPW and elected officials mentioned in it. And the last, or I guess targeted improvements, we didn't necessarily have anything. We had our letter, but we did not meet. Is there anything else to mention there?
I don't believe so.
Sounds good. Policies. I know there was something from policies. Anna, do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So as folks have been around for a while might remember, newer folks might not. Last year, there was a lot of work done by the policy work group around improving daylighting. And the somewhat, perhaps unsurprising stopping point there is we're sort of limited by state legislation in terms of how much the city can do. So the follow-up from this is we took what was going to be sort of a direction for the city to change our municipal policy, instead are directing it as part of a file towards intergovernmental relations to be part of our package that we send with our lobbyists to the state to allow more local control for municipalities in determining parking regulations. So we can, Kathy was kind enough to draft a resolution about this, talking about all the reasons why daylighting is great and why parking regulations are important for ensuring safety for everybody using the street. And then we would, so if the committee approves the language here, we would identify sponsors, Alder and Alder to sponsor this and have this added to, hopefully, to our legislative package.
So this does not have a sponsor yet?
It does not have a sponsor.
It does not have a sponsor yet. And while you guys can approve the language here, I just want to make it real clear that there might still be like changes to this language as it moves through like our approval process through the Legislative Reference Bureau and with the sponsor. And actually, as I was reading through this again, I know that I do need to change at least one thing, because when I was drafting these whereas clauses, it was really kind of heavily supporting the daylighting, making that sort of the case. But then when we switched to the idea that we really just want to get more local control, there really is nothing, I didn't include any whereas clauses about that, so I should probably add a couple of those. But these are, this is kind of like the general outline of what the legislation could look like.
And so this is specifically aimed at the state ordinance that specifies distance from crosswalks for parking, or?
No, not necessarily. That was kind of the original intent, but now we're thinking, or the policy group was thinking that if we just lobbied for more local control over setting parking regulations, because that would give us the ability to do more daylighting, but it could also benefit us in other ways. You know, if we ask for that one specific thing, we might get it, but then we might end up having to go back to ask for like the next thing and the next thing. Whereas if we can just get more general local control, that would give us a little bit more flexibility.
Are there examples of other like parking regulations that are limiting, that we don't have local control over beyond distance from crosswalk?
I'm sure there are right off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be able to.
I see this is strategic.
Tell you, yeah, it's more, I mean, it probably has to do with like handicap spaces and the number of spaces you need to have on a block. I mean, it could be a lot of things.
Sure.
We wanted to like avoid getting into specific arguments about, is it 15 feet, is it 25 feet? And try to take that like out of statute and more to the realm of like bureaucracy.
Cities can figure it out, yeah.
And
Right,
policy.
and getting away from specific requirements or keeping it more general in terms of local control kind of softens that notion that we're trying to take parking spaces away.
Mhm.
Because as soon as you say, yes, we want to take parking spaces away, people get their hackles up. Whereas just having the ability to do what we want with parking doesn't necessarily mean we're going to take parking spaces away, but it gives us more options.
Sure. Makes sense.
But I do kind of apologize because when I drafted this, it was with a more specific ask in mind. And as I'm reading through it now, I kind of went, oh, maybe there's a couple different things that I would tweak.
No, it's all good. I mean, this is an early draft, right? So there's
Right.
plenty of time.
Right, and basically what the policy group is asking for is really an agreement by the body that we should move forward by the sponsor and hashing out the final language.
Right. Yes, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Do any committee members, or sorry, I kind of interrupted. Any questions or comments or discussion on any aspect of this?
I think the only other work group update we talked about is even though it is now April and decidedly getting more and more beautiful each day outside, we're going to keep pushing on the snow removal. So we're going to be reaching out to some of the alders that were previously working on this to offer to collaborate on that, because if we wait until November, it will be too late to get meaningful changes in. So that's the other area where the work group is trying to keep the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a Mike Brady, or I think a member of the public, comment in here. Status of I don't know.
Oh, we had somebody from, sorry, there was a comment in the chat about the Hank Aaron State Trail. That we had somebody from the DNR here last year that said there were.
Are we talking, what was the
comment was
question?
about, I think, cracks or
like the repaving of the area along Canal?
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep into the discussion. I think it would be worth reaching out to the DNR because I think at least our understanding last year was they were planning to do it last year or this.
Yeah, they're planning to do it as soon as they can, but this is a great, what's the word? Catalyst for me to just reach out to me and do that anyway and ask what the DNR has in
If I recall correctly, they were trying to coordinate with utilities to
Yes.
have some level of assurances that they wouldn't repave it and then immediately have it cut into again. So,
That's right. That's what they, yeah.
yeah, they were trying to just coordinate the schedules on that.
Right.
But yeah, it'd be great to get an update.
Yeah, doing that right now.
Okay, cool. So,
Very-
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not sure if I'll have an immediate update, but yeah.
no, if you, yeah, we can,
Keep y'all posted.
the
we
next
hear,
half hour.
we hear something back for next month, that would be perfect. But back to, daylighting. I think it looks great.
I don't think we're not really adapting it and we know language has changed. So I don't know if we need like a motion on this, but
I mean, I think you were looking for, would it be helpful to have the city or the committee, sorry, fully as a body endorse moving forward with, so even if not this specific language?
I think it would be, yes, because then you can go to the alderman and you can say, yes, the body has said they want to move forward.
Sure, so then if there's no more discussion, I'll hear a motion to have the committee adopt moving forward with this resolution as it kind of changes into the future, finding a sponsor, appearing before whichever committee, if it gets that far. I hope it does. Sorry. Any motion?
Sure, I'll motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Hearing no objections, we'll move forward with that. Excellent. Let's see. So that I think about wraps up board groups. Unless there was more to say on snow removal. I know that there was some back and forth with
No,
some alders, but
yeah,
that'll just continue.
hopefully more updates next month.
Cool. So the next item is new business. I'll add the Hank Aaron State Trail as a note for myself, just as a reminder to ask.
Sure.
To see if we got an update, but I don't expect a lot of deeper discussion on that. It'd be nice to know what the plans are.
Suggestion here in the chat.
So comment in the chat that Bubbler may be in talks to add stations on the Hank Aaron State Trail near or in West Allis or near State Fair Park, which I think would be a great addition as well. For the other item of new business that I know was Sherman Boulevard. There's a information meeting coming up this summer.
That should be like May or early June yet, so hopefully by the next meeting.
And the plan is to have it narrowed down from 4 to 1 or 2.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know if Jesse Jefferson's on, but I don't know if he's still on here now or not.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think because the conversations, I think, was whether we wanted to weigh in on endorsing a specific alternative. That's something that projects.
Yeah, I think we want to wait till after the PIM before we do that.
Okay. Cool. Well, and I guess next month would be May, wouldn't it? So I'll add it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Are there any other items of new business that we potentially want to discuss for next month?
Yeah. If I may,
Please.
I'm Jim Brill. I live in the third ward. Among numerous things I do, I deliver for Amazon Flex. So I'm all over the whole metro area all the time and see the driving habits and the pedestrian habits. And I grew up on the east side. So that's one of the areas I want to address. Another one is with bike thefts and what's really keeping people from riding bikes, besides the safety issue, but it's also like all over town, I see, and people don't understand the laws. about, say, pedestrians. Pedestrians don't know the laws, and the drivers don't know the laws. Almost nobody these days is stopping where they should at a stop sign or red light, if they stop with any of them at all. And we need an education program out there that starts in the schools. And teaches the kids in the schools at first grade, put the rules of the road up. Teach the driver's manual. Those kids are probably never going to drive a car in their life because they'll all be automated. But they need to know the rules. They also become cops in their parents' cars and in other people's cars, their grandparents, whatever, who aren't stopping at the stop sign. Well, all of a sudden they're like, hey, grandma, you're supposed to stop here, not there.
Sure.
We need a whole public campaign. And pedestrians think they don't have the right of way all the time. And they're waving you through. I'm stopping for them and they're like shocked, and they keep saying go. I'm like, no, technically, I gotta let you go because technically the law is I gotta yield to you.
Right.
And people don't even understand it. That they think the only time a pedestrian has the right of way is crossing the street at a traffic light when it says walk. When it's actually, every single crosswalk, whether marked or unmarked.
Right.
And nobody seems to know that.
Yeah, I guess for us as a committee, I know that the city does education on these things, but I guess for us, unless there's something specific for us to look into or discuss as a matter, that's kind of where we're at now.
I'm just looking for a way to get some education out there to where people just don't know the laws.
No,
There's so many drivers out there who never got a driver's license in the first place. That's why I don't know.
Sure.
But at least if you get it, try and encourage, as the city, to encourage all the schools, private, public, to go and teach the rules of driving.
Mary Beth does have a comment which made, or
Along with Amanda.
Sure.
really test.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
yeah, if this would be helpful, just two quick pieces. So I missed your name. I work at the Wisconsin Bike Federation. I just wanted maybe for use and clarity here. Totally agree on the schools. I will say, MPS has installed, don't quote me on the exact number, but it's near 50 to 100. I don't know the exact number of traffic gardens, or they will be installing them at elementary schools. So that piece, I totally agree of teaching kids, and then they need to be pressuring and educating parents upward is a really key educational effort. And there is work being done on that. Both the traffic gardens will help a lot because that curriculum does exist. And then the Bike Fed also does Safe Routes to School programming with various MPS schools as well, where we teach about walking, and not just from the perspective of, you obviously as students and children should be careful and, safety first, but also that perspective, what the right.
Just assuming, the law says I can cross right now and cross it.
Can you say a little bit more about the traffic gardens?
Yeah, so they're really cool. If anyone from DPW would like to speak to them more, because it's not my realm of expertise, but they are installed at playgrounds and at elementary schools across the district, where basically it's sort of a fake street. It has the lanes, things like that. So students, it can be an element of play, but also they're learning the rights of the road and what people should be doing, including stopping at stop signs. And part of the goal of that is obviously safety for kids, but also bringing that culture back to their parents and guardians who are driving. And I'll do a shameless plug for the gentleman in the room. In terms of pedestrian safety and pedestrian education, I run our pedestrian safety program called Milwaukee Walks, and we try to do neighborhood-based kind of culture change. And I'd be more than happy to have you join us at some of that, because we definitely need more people who care about this and want to change our city for the better. So if you are interested at all, please let me know.
Yeah, I think Appreciate it. And thank you, Mary Beth.
I would just say too, I mean, that's a very important, but very broad topic. So I think there's a lot of ways that this could be discussed going forward. There are several efforts that are underway. Obviously, not everything you touched on is being addressed. But I think, you know, through Jessica Weinberg and her efforts at Vision Zero, and I think she's in the process of hiring an education person to do full-time education around traffic safety. So I think there's a lot there. I think it all is important, and you know, perhaps we can kind of piece. Personally, I feel bad when some of the pedestrians starts running across the road when I stop for them. Like, you know, they feel like, oh, they got to hurry up and get out of my way.
Yeah.
You know, I want to roll down the window except that I'm this crazy person. You don't need.
Yeah.
You don't need to run.
Understood. Yeah.
The other issue is the bike theft. I live in the third ward. Most of the time I drive my car to the Metro Market because all I gotta go through to lock it up when I get there. And then I'm still worried because these get right through almost any lock, whatever. I happen to have a $250 Bluetooth lock, so they can't pick it. And it'll be very hard to cut it, but still, I have all these, I'm feeling concerned about it the whole time I'm in the store.
Yeah, I think.
And so people don't ride their bikes because my daughter's had her bike. She lives on the east side. She had her two bikes stolen in the last 2 years. And if we don't get a handle on this stuff, people aren't going to ride bikes at anywhere near the level, which is why I also charge the scooters, the lime scooters. I've charged them all along the way through the years. And in that vein, there should be 10,000, 50,000 scooters in town. Along with.
I think, yeah, so for
those you don't have to, you can ride it. You need to ride it to someplace.
Out of respect for everybody's time, I would be happy to have like further conversation on different areas. But at this point.
I actually have to get out here too. I have to go deliver for him.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
I'm also fixing what's wrong. Like 911 or so.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there, and Laura from Bubbler notes that Bubbler is a great option if you're nervous about getting your bike stolen, which I agree. It's not. It's a good thing to note. Is there any other new business? I saw your comment, Laura, above. I'll probably reach out if there's something that the committee can do regarding past and Bubbler. But otherwise, it sounds like we have no other new business potentially for next month. We can move into events and announcements. If anybody has anything that's going on.
Kyle does have something to share.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I probably didn't introduce myself when I was discussing bike parking, but my name's Kyle Nelson. Part of me is a member of the multimodal team here, but also I'm a student at UWM, finishing out my master's in urban planning. So 4 more weeks, we're getting there. But for one of my classes this semester, I decided to do a independent study, and I'm creating a survey to try to figure out actual bicyclists and pedestrians like comfort and suitability on the roadways. So we know a lot about crashes and safety, things like that. So really, I just wanted to note that next week there should be a survey that starts to spread. Pedestrian bicycle suitability survey. So if you guys can all keep a lookout for that. One, I'd appreciate if you took it yourselves, but also if you were able to spread it. So really, the goal is you will see a series of photos and a few videos as well, hoping to keep the survey relatively short. But really, it's just going to ask you, how comfortable are you here? So hopefully we can start to evaluate what different pedestrian facilities, bicycling facilities, like people actually start to get a sense for people, their comfort level on them, and the suitability to take it a little bit further. So this is just a local pilot study that I'm running. And then hopefully in the fall, it's expanded and actually spread out to multiple cities. So we can really start to do more research and understanding of, like I said, beyond the safety of it, actually the comfort level that people have on the streets, and really try to reach all ages and abilities too. So I know a lot of people in this room, might feel more comfortable on a bike than others, for example. But I know we have access to a lot of different people, so hopefully it can start to spread around a little bit. So really, I just wanted to point it out for all you guys. And if you see it across your streams, I'd really appreciate it.
That'll be coming out next week.
Next week. Yep.
Is that something we can send out through e-notify? I don't know what that is. Mike says yes. So yeah, we can send it out.
Yeah.
That'll be everybody subscribed to the city's bike and pedestrian news.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, hopefully it can drive some research forward, a little bit beyond some of the things that we don't know and user perception, things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
And congrats.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And Laura knows they can send it through the Butler newsletter too.
Great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else have events? Does DPW have any informational meetings in the next month or so?
Not quite. Well, the Burnham Park traffic safety improvement project this is May 21st. So yeah, might be for the next meeting, but
Be soon after the next meeting.
soon after the next meeting that will be coming up. It's the only thing that comes to mind for me though.
As always, the monthly bike party, critical masses, the last Friday of the month, gathering at 5:30 and rolling out at 6 from Red Arrow Park.
A week from today. Yeah, the 26th.
Oh, Monica has something in the chat.
Yes, the 175 meeting is on April 30th.
Washington Park Senior Center.
Thank you, Barry.
And I'm not sure if it's too late to register, but I think next week is the Wisconsin Bike Feds Healthy Community Summit.
Yes, in Madison, I believe. That is Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, something next week. At the end of the week. Anybody else? Somebody had their hand up. Mary Beth, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I'm just gonna put in here, I have a lot of Milwaukee Walks events that I'm gonna release, including on May 6th, I'm kicking off monthly Milwaukee Walks meetings for anyone in the city or county. Starting to do more work across the summer and hoping to build out more of like a volunteer structure in many neighborhoods. So if anyone is interested in or has folks who are interested, please invite them. And then I will also shout out a bike week is coming up soon. If you feel like doing a ride or a commuter station or cargo bike testing or any of the things, please start thinking about that. I'm happy to answer questions and really just want to see more and more events out there. So putting that out there.
It's the first week of June.
Yes, thank you. It is June 1st through 8th. So, and if you have to do something on the 31st, we'll kind of count it. But yeah, that's the idea is for the 1st through the 8th. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Mary Beth put the link to Milwaukee Walks events in the chat for anybody that's interested. Otherwise, it's I can't read that. Sorry. Any other events or announcements?
Strong Towns, Milwaukee, Metro Milwaukee has an event. They're calling An Amazing Vision for the Future of the I-94 Corridor. And that is Tuesday, April 23rd at noon. It's a virtual event.
That's next week.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just search the internet for Strong Towns Metro Milwaukee.
Yes.
For more information.
What is that?
Tuesday, the 23rd at noon. And it is virtual only.
Strong Towns Metro MKE.org. Any other events or announcements? Hearing none. That is our last agenda item. I would hear motions to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Anna. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Barry. Thank you all. Thanks to everybody from DPW for presenting and answering questions today. Committee members for attending, discussing. Appreciate it. And I will see you all next month. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,